You're listening to Rome is in Manila, a podcast with the pandemic as its ground zero. I am Rome Juanetas. I am not your friend yet. Listen as we transcend through space and time, discussing misadventures, noise, and learnings with guests who are learning things. Tune in. Stop being a stranger. Be a friend. Today I am joined by Trisha Albay. So, hello Trisha, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining me here. It's fun. It's nice to have you.
Hi, Rome.
Yeah. So
It's my
Trisha,
first time guesting to any
yes.
podcast.
Oh, really? Wow, that's really awesome. Thank you very much for making this show be your first podcast guesting. And Trisha is actually used to be a workmate in 2018, if I remember it right. So we've
Mm.
known each other for about 2 years now. And right now, Trisha is studying masters in Thailand. I don't know the exact details, but she'll introduce herself right now. So why don't you tell us about yourself, Trisha? What you're doing right now, what you're studying, your interests. So tell us everything that you want to tell us about yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Trisha Albay, originally from Bulacan. And then after I graduated college, I moved to Quezon City. I started working in Manila. And then after 3 years of working, I moved to Thailand to to pursue my master's degree. It's in Asia Pacific Studies. It's basically international relations. So it's kind of like related to my previous work experience when we worked together. I moved here just last year, and I'll be finishing my master's this year. So it's only like 1.5 year.
Oh,
So after that, like I have no plans yet.
I
But
see.
here in Thailand, I'm not based in Bangkok. I am actually based outside Bangkok because there my I'm in the like provincial regional campus.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh, I see. All right. Thank you very much for introducing yourself. So, you mentioned about your work experience for 3 years that's somehow related to international relations. So, could you tell us a bit more about that? Like, how was the experience like? Let's focus on the positive stuff that you've learned working for
Mhm.
3 years in the international relations industry.
Oh yeah. So well, when we worked together, it was in a trade and investment organization. So we worked with a lot of diplomats, a lot of government organizations, even international organizations. So when I pursued my master's here, um, aside from international relations, we also tackled international trade, international economics, and all those things. So they're I'd say not directly related, but the things that I learned during my work experience were very applicable to what I'm studying now.
I see. All right. So, what made you be interested in studying in Thailand? Because you were here in the Philippines, and then I know you're very passionate about Korea. So, yeah. So, what made you
Yeah,
move to Thailand and study there?
yeah. Actually, I decided to pursue a master's degree in 2018. So by the last quarter, I was preparing to apply for a scholarship in Korea.
Mm,
So I joined all these like Facebook groups where the applicants share their experiences. And then I joined in a Filipino group of applicants to the Korean government scholarship program
mm,
for 2019. And then one of the members was already studying in this program, the batch before me.
mhm,
And then he posted about the Royal Thai Government Scholarship Program for this course here in Thailand. So it was a very easy application, I'd say, because you only get to fill out the application on Google Forms. So I applied here the same time I was applying for a scholarship in Korea.
mm,
So unfortunately, I didn't get the scholarship in Korea, but
mm.
I was accepted here instead. So instead of going to Korea, I just decided to move to Thailand.
I see. All right, that's cool. And it's interesting that even though you couldn't get the scholarship in Korea, you've got this in Thailand, and I think that's an awesome opportunity as well. And yeah, could you tell us the specifics of what you're studying? You've mentioned Asia Pacific studies, somehow
Mhm.
related to international relations. Could you tell us a bit more about that and why that is an interest of yours?
Asia Pacific Studies is basically just how we study international studies in the Philippines.
Mm,
So, but instead of studying the whole world, we focus on the Asia Pacific region. But in most of our classes, we try to focus more on Southeast Asia and how is Southeast Asian country relate to other countries outside of the region. So it's just very it's very interesting for me because it's a multi, it's multidisciplinary. So
mm,
we study political science, economics, international trade, even international business. And I think it really fits someone who who is not going on like a very definite path in life. So
mm,
as for me, my undergrad degree is in mass media. I
mm,
pursued mass media. I practiced it for a while, like maybe less than a year before I moved to another company where I pursued marketing and project management. So it's like I don't want to be stuck doing like working in the same industry forever.
mm.
So it's very fitting for those people who would like to work in different industries in their entire career. So like for me, I worked in trade and investment before, but now I'm having um, an interest in sustainable development.
Mm.
So like if you're the kind of person who cannot really decide like me, like it's good to like get a degree that is multidisciplinary, like the program that I am taking now.
Yeah, of course, right. And since you mentioned sustainable development, so I'm just curious if you're like also studying these UN's SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, perhaps. Oh.
We don't really focus on it,
Mm,
but we do touch it in some of our subjects, like when we study international law,
mm,
we touch on the international organizations, like how those work. And then when we do when we study about development, we do touch on the UN SDGs, but there's no really specific like there's no class dedicated to just learning about the sustainable development goals.
right, right.
But my program, like we have some connections to some organizations. So
Mm,
um, earlier this year in around February, so we were invited to join a speech competition in the UN, and it's for sustainable development. So it was a team competition. I joined the competition with two of my classmates, and then yeah, we they provide those kinds of other opportunities for students, which I think is like one of the reasons why I like, you know, it's one of the things that you really benefit from when you study overseas.
mm,
It's like especially studying in here in Thailand, it's there are a lot of regional offices of international organizations based here. So I'd say like there are a lot of I'd say like in my at least in my field, like there are a lot of opportunities here compared to like living in Manila.
I see. All right, all right. You also mentioned that so right now you're studying this, but in the future you're not yet sure what you're gonna do. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but are you thinking like after your studies for this master's program, will you be coming back to the Philippines, or like perhaps do you want to stay in Thailand or move around for a little bit more?
My goal is to like, because I'll be graduating this December.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, yeah, my program is ending this December. And I need to go back to the Philippines in January
Mm,
as part of my scholarship contract. But we're not really prohibited um, to working here after the graduation. So I'm already looking for a job in Bangkok, but it hasn't been very easy for me because a lot of them need Thai proficiency,
mm,
which I'm not very proficient at, even though I've lived here for a year already. So my immediate goal is to just like find a job here in Thailand because
mm,
I've only been here 1 year and I feel like because of the lockdown, I haven't seen much of the country. I haven't
mm,
interacted with a lot of people. I barely made Thai friends.
mm,
So I just started enjoying this country. So I think I wanna stay more. I wanna stay longer.
All right, all right. That's cool. And since you've already mentioned about language, okay, I want to talk about that. So you've been staying in Thailand for over a year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so over a year, but you still couldn't learn the language. Could you tell us what makes it difficult for you to actually learn the language?
It's very difficult because unlike Filipino, unlike Korean,
Mm,
unlike English, we don't have tones.
right.
So as far as I know, only Chinese and Thai have tones. So in Thai language, they have five tones, which I cannot pronounce until now.
All right.
But um, it's very difficult for me to get the tones right because I don't speak any language that has any tone.
Mm,
And do you know like they have this like nasally sound.
mm,
It's like if you cannot do that sound, it's very difficult to pronounce most of Thai words. Like for example, five is ha.
ha, okay.
So it's like it I still cannot pronounce it like 100% correct till now, but it's not the simple ha. It's like
Right.
it goes ha,
Mm,
which is like very difficult, especially because they speak very fast.
right.
Yeah, so up until now, my vocabulary is limited to like just for survival,
Mm,
like buying food, buying something, going somewhere.
right. Oh, I see. And this is just about the spoken language, not yet the script. Have you studied the script?
I attempted to study it, but it's very difficult. It's not like Hangul
Mm-hmm.
where you can learn it in 2 hours.
Right.
Like you can learn how to read in less than 2 hours. This one is like even my Thai friends are saying that it's very difficult to memorize. There's a lot, and it would be easier. They advise that it would be easier for me to learn how to speak first,
Mm,
and then like when I get used to the five tones already, then I can start learning how to read and write. But I'm still very far from that from that level.
I see. Well, yeah, I believe that when you start working and then you'll have more time to get immersed with the community, then probably you'll pick it up much faster. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people are saying that when you want to learn a language, the fastest ways to learn it is to live in a country where people speak it.
Mm,
But the problem here is that I am in an international program
mm,
and all of the people around me speak good English. So I never really had a chance to practice my Thai with them. So
right.
all of us speak in English. So it's not like I cannot eat if I don't speak Thai. It's
Mm,
like they've been very kind to me. Like they would help me order food, they would help me buy something. So I wasn't like in a very desperate situation to learn the language.
right, right. And you've mentioned food, so yeah, I want to talk about food. since you've stayed there for quite a while now, so perhaps you've already got acquainted with the food that they have. How is it so far? Do you like Thai food? Or
I haven't gotten used to Thai food until now. Because the Thai food that we have in the Philippines, they've already like changed it
mm,
for the Filipino palate.
right.
But the real Thai food here, especially outside Bangkok, in the non-touristy places, it's very spicy.
Mm,
It's like the spiciness level is something that I feel like a majority of Filipinos wouldn't be able to handle, and I haven't gotten used to that.
mm,
That was the hardest part. Like after I moved here, I started missing Filipino food.
mm,
I got homesick because I wanted to eat Filipino food. But since I live outside Bangkok, it's very difficult to find Filipino food.
right. And but do you get the chance to cook for yourself, perhaps?
I I had a chance during the lockdown, but the
Mm,
problem is I don't cook very well. So I attempted I the most basic one is adobo.
right. Yeah. Everybody needs to know adobo.
Yeah, but I still couldn't do it well. It tastes very different from the adobo that I know.
Mm,
It's because even back in the Philippines, I didn't cook a lot. I didn't have a chance to make Filipino food,
mm,
and I couldn't. One of the easiest ones probably sinigang,
sinigang. Mm.
but it's very during the lockdown. It was very difficult buying the sinigang mix.
Oh,
I'm not
but
even
they
sure if they
sell
have it
sinigang
here.
mix.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, because I joined some Filipino community group in Facebook,
mm,
and there are some Filipinos who bring sinigang mix from the
oh,
Philippines, and they sell it here.
wow, that's nice. At least it wouldn't be difficult to cook sinigang if you have that.
Like the Thai food that I knew back in the
Mm.
Philippines was very different from what I'm eating right now. Like I got used to it, I think, but
They don't
I
have
think I
spicy
would
drinks,
still.
do they?
No, they
No.
don't.
Okay.
Or maybe like there is, but I don't know about it.
I see. Because I was wondering if maybe they're selling cold drinks that's actually spicy or something. Because yeah, like you've mentioned, all the cuisine that they have are mostly super spicy. But when they serve, do they serve it like you can have an option like in Korea? I want this just a little spicy, mildly spicy, super
I think they
spicy.
do.
Mm.
If you try to order from restaurants.
Mm.
But I live near the campus, and every day, almost every day, I eat at least one meal inside the campus, and that would be in the cafeteria. So
Mm.
in those cases, you cannot really ask them to like tone it down for you.
Right.
You
Mm.
you you get what you see.
Right. I see. Okay, that's cool. How about the people? How are they? You've mentioned you didn't get to mingle a lot with Thai people, but with the amount of experience that you've had, how are the people?
They're very they're very kind, like they're very helpful, very friendly, because at least the people here in my university, they're very friendly. Like sometimes we would be eating or drinking by ourselves, and then some groups would try to approach us, try to talk with us, and ask for our Instagram account,
Mhm.
and they would like keep in touch from time to time. And then I made friends in the boxing gym
Mm.
because I've been practicing Muay Thai since I got
Right.
here. And it's very touching because you know that it's very difficult for them to speak English with you,
Mm.
but they still try. They try their best to try to talk to you, which is
Right.
like it's very nice of them because I was the one who went to this country So I should be the one adjusting
Right.
for them. Like I should be the one learning Thai from for them, but they really make an effort to talk with us.
Mm. Considering you're not in Bangkok, right?
Yeah, yeah. In Bangkok, it's way easier to go around, even without knowing Thai, because a lot of them could speak English. At
Mm.
least like when you're trying to buy something. But I noticed that in this area, not a lot of people could understand you. Like they understand English, but they don't understand my accent.
Mm.
Because just like in every language there is a specific accent that they can understand,
Right.
and even though I'm trying, it's very difficult for me to get into that Thai English accent.
Mm. I see. Yeah, it needs adjusting for both sides, I guess. If,
Yeah.
especially if you have different accents. Yeah, but yeah, I've recently heard this guy say that accent is not really a measure of intelligence, but it's just more of a cultural thing. Yeah. So yeah.
Exactly. Like when I got here, i would I would always, like, people would always tell me how good my accent is,
Mhm.
because when they find out I'm a Filipino, they would always tell me like, "Oh, but your accent doesn't sound Filipino."
Mhm.
Although I'm not really sure how my accent sounds like, but I always get that compliment from other people.
Right.
But then, like, they would always tell me that, "Oh, your English is really good. Oh,
Mhm.
it's because you're Filipino." And then sometimes they would assume that I'm smart because I speak good English, because I have the highest English proficiency score in class. But it's
Mhm.
like I always tell them, like, English is not, it's not a basis of intelligence. Like, I'm only bilingual, but my
Mhm.
classmates are multilingual. Like they
Mhm.
speak 4 to 6 languages.
Oh.
That is smart.
Right. I
Right.
see. That's really cool. And yeah, actually, uh, I think from the last time we've talked, like maybe over a year ago, yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of sound different from what I remember. So maybe because you don't speak to a lot of Filipinos these days, so whenever you speak
Hmm.
English, you have to adjust with the people around you. So probably that affects it a bit as well. But yeah, I agree that yeah, it shouldn't be a measure for one's intelligence, but
Yeah.
rather it's just a cultural thing that we adapt the accent that we have. I mean,
Hmm.
from the people around us. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm not sure if okay. So what's discussion coming to my mind? Okay, I'm curious if you're watching Thai movies or TV shows or anything.
I used to watch some Thai series, but
Mm,
I stopped because I recently got into like English comedy shows.
mm. Could you tell us
So
about that?
yeah, it started, like, I started watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine
Mm,
last year, and then I got so into it after watching so many seasons. Like, I finished everything, and then I suddenly felt empty. I wanted to replace it with another comedy show. So I
mm,
watched The Good Place, and then after finishing all 3 seasons, I started watching New Girl. So I'm on the second season
mm,
of New Girl right now. Um, it's really funny, but, like, one of the reasons I stopped watching Thai series is because um, I guess the humor doesn't fit mine.
mm,
It's like the actors are great, the storylines are great, but it just it just doesn't fit my taste, or
mm.
maybe the humor.
I see.
Because, or some but sometimes I feel like it's just seasonal, because I'm I'm very into K drama as well.
Mm,
But as of right now, I don't feel like watching any. So, like there would be days I feel like watching Korean or watching Thai or watching American shows.
I see. All right. So now I'm curious because said you've seen Brooklyn 99, A Good Place, and now New Girl. So what is it about these three shows that you like, aside from the fact that they're comedy?
It's like they build all this relationship in the storyline, and then you somehow get attached to the characters. You feel like you're one of them. You
Mm,
feel like you go to work with them, you live with them, and you just like how they like all these relationships that they built with each other. But
mm,
it's just like I I I felt really sad during the lockdown, and it
mm,
was like my relief to watch comedy shows, and I tend to find the humor in American series better than the humor in Asian shows.
mm. I see. Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, I also don't understand the humor in Asian shows, but yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right. Like there's something different.
Right. Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. So my next question is not related to the things we've been talking about, but I'm gonna ask you: is there anything that you're particularly interested in right now, or something that you're learning that you would want to share with the listeners or viewers of this podcast?
Oh, recently I started learning Spanish
Mm,
because um, it's kind of like a lot of words in Spanish we are already familiar with because they're kind of similar to words in Filipino and in English. So I thought it would be easier for me to learn the language. But after finishing one course at Coursera, I just realized that you cannot study a language because you think you can do it or because you think it's easy. Like there has to be a sincere interest in learning it.
mm, right.
So it's very similar to my experience with Thai. So it's very I find it very difficult to learn because I am not 100% interested in learning. Like
Mm,
I would only try to learn because for survival. But it was very different from my case with learning Korean.
mm,
I tried to learn Korean by myself, and I would say among all the languages that I attempted to study, like
mm,
Korean, Spanish, and Thai, learning Korean is still easier for me. It's because I'm truly interested in learning the language. Like there is a sincere interest in being fluent.
mm,
I think that's very important, but I don't know. I think I just need to expose myself more in the language, like watch more shows related to the language because that's how I did before I was interested in learning Korean. I watch a lot of K drama, and that influenced me to learn the language. So I feel like if I just watch more Spanish shows,
mm.
then maybe I would get into the mood.
I see. Yeah, and that's really true. I agree with you saying that sincere interest is very important in learning a
Hmm.
language, because that's also my experience recently. I actually tried studying Mandarin for
Hmm.
like 2 months. My original purpose was to just show that, well, I can study it and then get a good grade or a good score from the courses.
Yeah.
And well, I did two courses in 2 months. After that, I felt like, okay, it's just up to that. Like, I don't have that very sincere interest to learn
Hmm.
it moving
Right.
forward. So, yeah, I think that is truly very important. And
Hmm.
yeah, but you still want to study Spanish, right?
Yeah, I still wanna continue because I'd say you just need the motivation to memorize a lot of a lot of a lot of words, but like the grammar, the way they structure the sentence is it's very similar to English. So I
Mm.
don't think it's going to be a big problem, but it's just I need to immerse myself in the language so I would get more interested in learning it.
Right, right. You've
So
never.
how is your
Mm.
Mandarin lessons going so far?
Right now I'm not taking any courses, so I'm just watching videos on YouTube from time to time, but not as much as when I was doing that challenge for 2 months. Right now it's like if I remember that, oh, I want to watch a YouTube video on Mandarin language, then I would. But it's not like in the past wherein every day I would spend 30 minutes to an hour studying it.
So when you watch things online, do you like pick up some words? Because um, learning it online and
Mm.
hearing someone speak the language in the usual pace, it's very different. Sometimes you cannot even pick up everything that some of the things that you learn from conversations.
Right, right. That is true. And so I'm going to share what I'm trying to do right now. So what I'm doing right now is I'm still studying Korean. I'm level 4. I'm going level 5, level 6, but I still need to study a lot. So what I'm doing right now is I'm watching Netflix TV shows, and then I'm using this Chrome extension called Learn Languages with Netflix.
Hmm.
So I would watch like one drama. So K dramas are usually very long, like 1 hour. But when I study, I'd spend about 2 hours watching one episode of any show. Like recently,
Hmm.
I've been watching Record of Youth. So
Oh,
this is
the
the
new
one with,
one.
yeah, with
Yeah.
Park Pogum and, yeah, the girl Sodam. So yeah, I'm watching that. So I have this Chrome extension, Learn Languages with Netflix. So it has the English and Korean subtitles at the same time, and then it has a built-in dictionary. This is not sponsored, but yeah, I'm just sharing. so um, so I'm doing that, and then every time I hear something interesting, because Korean dramas really put in a lot of like Confucian proverbs or something in their sentences in their
Hmm.
everyday life. So I usually pick those up and then put them on my notepad and then on my Anki, my what's this, space repetition software. So yeah, that's how I'm studying right now, so that I'm still listening to authentic material and then processing it. Although I'm pausing the video from time to time and then, okay, what did that person say? I want to get what he said, so I'm gonna pause and then I'm gonna write it down. Yeah, so it's like how we make do right now because we cannot really like communicate or immerse
Hmm.
ourselves with the community. So that's how I'm doing. You can try it too.
Oh, I remember when we were still working together back in 2018, you took the TOPIK exam,
Yeah.
right? And you took TOPIK 2 and you got level 4.
Yes.
I remember I took it the same year,
Mm,
but I took TOPIK 1.
mm,
So it's like I would get like either level 1 or 2, but I
right.
still got level 1. It's like I just gave up in the middle of the test. Like
Mm,
it's very difficult because everything was in Korean,
right.
right? Like even the instructions.
Mhm,
So sometimes they would like want you to cross out the one out of the four choices, cross out the one that is like different from the rest. But if you don't understand the instruction, like you would think that you need to pick one
mhm,
that suits the question the most. It's
right.
like so I think I want to take the exam again, but probably I need more time to learn. And I
Yeah.
actually like asked you before, is it worth is it worth it like buying hard copy materials
For studying topic,
for studying Korean
for
in
studying
in
Korean in
general?
general. Well, I have a lot of books actually, like, yeah, a lot of Korean books. Um, I think you can start off without getting books like to be at level 3 or level 4.
Mm-hmm.
You can for me, it's mostly Talk to Me in Korean.com. So I've been
Oh.
listening to their podcast when that was the format before. I think right now they're having this paid app, but still most of the lessons that they have are for free, I
Mm-hmm.
think. So I think Talk to Me in Korean.com is still a very valuable resource for learning Korean,
Mm-hmm.
but it gets you to a level that's quite comfortable. But then if you want to go beyond that, then yeah, I think you would want to invest in books that are like definitely Korean in the field that you want to study. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have books in finance that are in Korean, so those are the things I'm reading nowadays. Yeah, and business stuff, economics, like that. So you're in
Oh.
international relations, so probably you could get some books that are related to that. I think a lot of publishers in Korea has this Korean for business administration people, Korean for um, financial something, Korean for those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can pick them up later as well.
Oh, I try learning with Talk to Me in Korean. Their materials are really good if you want to be fluent in like casual conversations.
Right,
But yeah, I guess if you're trying to get into working proficiency, then it would still be better to have materials directly related to the field that you want to work in.
right. Yes, yes. And Talk to Me in Korean is quite slow. I mean, if you're gonna go through that path, it will take you a lot of time. But
Yep.
it's good. It's good, but it will take you a lot of time. There's no like quick fix for it.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Well, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so one last question. Do I have one last question? All right. So my last question for you before we wrap up would be, so in the span of like the time that you are in Thailand, and also during this time of COVID, what is the most important lesson that you have learned so far?
It's um it's really about learning to be independent because when I got here September last year, I've been around a lot of people, and because I couldn't speak the language, I relied on those people a lot. Like they would help me order something online and they would help me pick it up because you need to fill out forms in Thai as well. And I'm not really the person to eat out alone.
Mm,
So I hate eating alone outside.
mm,
But during the lockdown, some people are trying to adjust as well. So if you invite them out and they don't want to go, it's like you cannot really get mad at them because even our level of fear about the pandemic is different. So they might be suffering more than I am. So that time I learned to like you really have to be independent and not try to rely on other people, especially I'm in a foreign country. I don't have any family or like longtime friends in here. So I rely too much on my friends here. And then I realized during the pandemic that in the end, it's good to have friends,
mm,
but it's not good to be too reliant on those people. Like some things you really have to learn doing alone. Like eating outside. Like
mm,
I didn't even do that a lot in the Philippines.
I see. All right. Independence. Right. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really cool. All right. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts today and sharing your experiences. Um, Perhaps, is there anything that you would want to promote to our listeners before we say goodbye?
Oh, I just want to share one thing
Okay.
because um, when people found out that I got a scholarship here in Thailand, a lot of my friends and a lot of even strangers asked me how I got it. So, you know, there is like a Thai wave happening around the world because of those BL series or movies. Like, are you familiar about that?
Yes, I've heard about it.
Yeah, so it's a genre called like boys love.
Mm,
So it has become a big hit, especially in the Philippines. So I
mm,
had some like Filipino friends and strangers ask me how I got to move in here.
mm,
So first of all, I got a full scholarship from the Thai government. So I'm basically staying here and I don't have to pay for my tuition. And they give us a monthly stipend, which covers all of my expenses, my rent, food, and everything. So those who are interested in studying here in Thailand, there are a lot of scholarship opportunities, both scholarships funded by the government or by the university. So at least in my program, six of us are funded by the government, and then three of us are funded by two of us are funded by the university, and one of us is funded by a private corporation here in Thailand. So if you are interested in studying here, and then I suggest that you go through the websites of those universities, look into the faculty you're interested in, and just try to look for um, announcement for scholarships. They usually do it. They usually offer it twice a year. The first semester here starts in August to December, and the application for that intake is usually around January, February. And the second intake is January to May, I think.
mm,
So the application for that is usually October every year.
mm,
And I would say that applying in Thailand is way easier than applying in other countries,
mm.
because as you know, if you apply in the Korean government scholarship program, you have to submit
A lot of
original
documents.
copies. You have to submit original copies of like so many documents,
Right.
and then you have to duplicate like those. You have to triplicate, and
Mm,
then you either send them to the embassy or send them directly to the university in Korea, which costs a lot of money.
right.
But here in Thailand, when I applied, they only had me um, fill out a Google form. And then after I submitted, they called me for an interview. And then I think I went to two interviews for the program. And then when they said that they will nominate me to the government agency, only then they asked me to submit hard copies of my applications to Thailand.
Mm, mm,
And since sending to Korea from the Philippines, the price is also very different. So it was cheaper sending documents to Thailand. So there are actually like a lot of opportunities, only if you, but they are not as popular as the ones in Korea.
mm,
So you really have to do a lot of research. And a lot of Filipinos are actually studying here in Thailand for their master's degree. I met some people from other universities. So they're also under scholarship, but from the university.
mm. I see. Wow, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that's going to be valuable to a lot of people listening to this episode. Yeah, thank you. So, anything you want to promote, or where can people find you if they want to find you online?
Oh, so you can follow my Instagram, Trisha Albay. Rome will put it
Yes,
here.
I will put it here or somewhere.
Yes. Just promoting my Instagram. I don't have any vlog yet.
Yes. All right. So, yeah, thank you very much, Trisha, for this wonderful time that we've had with you. And yeah, we hope to see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're listening to Rome is in Manila, a podcast with the pandemic as its ground zero. I am Rome Joanetas. I am not your friend yet. Listen as we transcend through space and time, discussing misadventures, noise, and learnings with guests who are learning and learning and learning things. Tune in. Stop being a stranger. Be a friend.